For this discussion, we'll be discussing the last topic for our Unit 2, which has a title of Earth's Atmosphere. So let us define first the objectives for this topic. At the end of the lesson, you should be able to first describe the characteristic of Earth's atmosphere, and last one, identify the importance of the hydrologic cycle or the water cycle. Hydrologic cycle and water cycle are just the same. Alright, so we have here the atmospheric composition. So this one talks about the composition of our Earth's atmosphere. The bulk of the atmospheric composition of Earth is nitrogen and oxygen, in which together comprises 99%. So the basic, or one of the, or among the most abundant gases na atong makit-an sa atong Earth's atmosphere, duha daw ani kay ang nitrogen and oxygen, which together comprises 99%. So only 0.9% is argon, which is also a type of gas, and the remaining 0.1% is trace gases. Now, carbon dioxide and oxygen, although available in minute amounts, are very essential to life on Earth. So this means class nga ang mga carbon dioxide daw and ozone, they're just present on the Earth's atmosphere in minute amounts, or very gagmay lang jud kayo ang percentage nga naa or nga nabilong si carbon dioxide and ozone. And that is really very essential for life to prosper on Earth, because if daghan dapat kayo carbon dioxide and ozone, so dili na siya class, dili na siya pwede, detrimental na siya sa mga living things, especially kung napay mga, or especially if tako pa ni na percentage yung mga trace gases. So that would be very unhealthy for us. So by maintaining this 99% of nitrogen and oxygen, so life on Earth is possible. Alright, so we have here the atmospheric composition. So the oxygen class and the nitrogen, they are the most abundant gases in the atmosphere. So if we compare oxygen and nitrogen gases, now the most abundant gases, or the most abundant gas in the atmosphere is of course nitrogen, which comprises of at least 78%, followed by oxygen, which has 21%, then the argon, which has 0.9%, of trace gases, which have 0.1%. Now, these trace gases, or itong 0.1%, are further subdivided into other gases in the atmosphere. Now, the major percentage for the trace gases belongs to the carbon dioxide, and this is where the breath or the air that we breathe out came from, or diri padulong ang atong mga carbon side na ginaginhawa. Same also with the exhaustion nga gikan sa mga pabrika, sa atong vehicles, sa mga mining industries, padulong niya siya diri nga percentage class. So the carbon dioxide, which is a type of trace gas, comprises of about 497%. So that means majority of the trace gases are carbon dioxide, followed by neon, which has 4.675%, and then followed also by helium, which has 1.299%, and followed by methane, then the nitrous oxide, and ozone. Okay. Atmosphere also class is further divided into different layers. So we have here the troposphere, or the atmosphere is made up of 5 layers. We have here the troposphere, the stratosphere, the mesosphere, the thermosphere, and the exosphere. So this figure shows how these layers are arranged in our atmosphere. So, ang troposphere class, makitaan lang niya siya doon sa atong ground, or it is located in the ground level. Ang stratosphere, mo ni siya sa kung asa ang mga radiosonde. Ang mesosphere na dire ang mga meteors, thermosphere na is spacecraft, and then the aurora borealis. Then the exosphere, it is where the satellites now are located. So, in the next slide, maibala na ang function on each different layers of the atmosphere. Alright. So we have here the first one, troposphere. So troposphere class, it is the layer that is closest to the Earth. Now take a look. So ito yung troposphere. Ito yung pinaka-close sa Earth's crust. So troposphere is where humans and most of the biosphere reside. And it is located at the lowest layer. So aside from that, in this layer also class, alright, so in this layer also class, in the troposphere, makita na to ang continuous changing of weather. That is why it is considered that the troposphere regulates weather and the climate. So in this layer, the troposphere of the atmosphere have high atmospheric pressure and has high concentrations of oxygen, which is ideal for life. Alright, so the next one after troposphere is the stratosphere. So in the stratosphere, dito na makita na ozone layer. So the ozone layer protects Earth from the sun's harmful UV radiation. However, because of the chlorofluorocarbon product, which actually depletes the ozone layer, kaya nagkakaroon ng hole ang ating ozone layer. But always remember class, ozone layer can always be located in the stratosphere. Now the oxygen, or the area or the layer which is desirable for human existence or for living existence is the troposphere. Now mesosphere is where meteorites born up. Same kanina sa picture. Balik lang na ako ha. This one is the mesosphere. So it is the layer of the earth where meteors usually borns up. Now, what causes anong naman may tabo nga burning of meteorites, ma'am? So the mesosphere, from the word meso, it means middle. Meso means middle. So this layer protects Earth from the impact of the space debris, just like the asteroids, comets, or any other fragments coming from the outer space. So diri a class, or kini nga layer, kini siya ang protect sa Earth from the space debris coming from the solar, or coming from the solar system, or coming from the outer space nga masaag sa tuang planet. Now, this layer is considered as the coldest, itong mesosphere. It is considered as the coldest layer because it has a minimum temperature of roughly -85 degrees Celsius. That is why yung mga space debris or yung mga fragments of asteroids or comets coming from the outer space, masunog yun na sila class when it enters the Earth's atmosphere because the temperature there is very hot or very kayo siya kanang raging kayo ang iyang hotness sa gawas. Now, kung kini siya ng mga init na mga space debris or naanad sila sa init na surrounding tapos mukalitan sila sulod sa mesosphere, which is considered as the coldest part of the layers of atmosphere, then masunog jud ni sila class. Bali dili makaya sa ilang surface na i-endure ang kabugnaw ni mesosphere. So meteor shower also, which is known as the shooting star, takes place in the mesosphere. Dire may tabo dire, or say meteor shower may tabo sa mesosphere. So this layer protects the Earth from the space debris because the debris burns as a result of the frictional force between air and the debris molecule. So considering nga bugnaw kayo diri ang class, bali kusog kayo ang pressure or kusog kayo ang air pressure diri because of the temperature, tapos musulod pa jud or mupadulong pa jud diri tong mga space debris nga naanad sa init na surrounding. So naadyo friction nga may tabo which will result into a meteor shower. Now, the fourth layer of the atmosphere. So this layer comes from the word thermo, which means heat. So init ni dire ah. So thermosphere is roughly 600 km thick and can reach a temperature of about 1,500 degrees Celsius. So this thermosphere is a layer with extremely high temperature. So grabe na class ang kainit diri as in super init jud dining thermosphere. However, dili lang na siya or dili lang ang physical characteristic ang atong anaw ni thermosphere because thermosphere also has its main contribution for us. Thermosphere class regulates temperature and filters the X-rays and some ultraviolet radiation emitted by the sun. So, even though ing ana kainit sa thermosphere, it doesn't mean wala siya function or wala siya nahatag na kaayuhan para sa atua. Instead, si thermosphere, nitabang niya siya para ma-filter ang mga X-rays or mga radioactive rays that comes from the sun. Aside from that, another interesting fact was that the International Space Station orbits also through this layer or yung, I guess, I'm not really sure if it's the NASA nga nag-orbit diriya or yung spacecraft ng International Space Station, diri na to makita sa thermosphere. And aside from that, diri pod mo core ang Aurora Borealis and Aurora, basta dalawa na sila class. The Northern Borealis and the Southern Borealis manata na. Okay, the last one or the last layer of the atmosphere is the exosphere. Exosphere is the outermost from the word exo, outermost or outer. Exosphere is the outermost layer of the atmosphere and the layer in contact with the outer space. So therefore, Exosphere serves as the boundary na siya class between the Earth's atmosphere and the outer space. So this layer has 1 or 10,000 kilometer thick, which forms a boundary between the Earth and the space. So this is the farthest, or this farthest layer absorbs some radiation and protects the layers of the undernet. It contains hydrogen and helium. The air is almost similar to vacuum in space because it is too thin. So diriya, since it serves as the boundaries between the Earth and the space, so mag-expect dito klase nga, di rin na nato makitaan ang kanang abundant traces for hydrogen and helium gases, because this hydrogen and helium, they are the most abundant gases na ato makitaan sa outer space. So aside from thermosphere nga mag-filter og mga ultraviolet radiation, sa exosphere class motabang po na siya pag-filter out sa mga radiation nga mosulod sa Earth. Now, for you to be able to remember the layers of the Earth, you should use, or we will implement the use of mnemonics. So we have here, or you may use the mnemonic, the smart man takes the elevator. The smart man takes the elevator. Ang T sa the, that signifies to troposphere. Ang S sa smart, that pertains to stratosphere. Ang M sa man, that's mesosphere. Ang T sa takes, thermosphere. And E sa elevator mo na siya ang exosphere. So mnemonics na siya. Bali, ang atong gina-consider is the first letter lang on each word. So, the smart man takes the elevator. So, para dali ra po siya yung mga time member. The smart man takes the elevator. Diba? Dali ra siya. Okay, so, we have here the stratospheric and the tropospheric ozone. Now, the ozone na atong makitaan sa stratosphere and the troposphere are actually different from each other. I mean, they serves different function. Kasi nga, if yung ozone nandoon sa stratosphere where ozone layer is located, then it would be very helpful for us. Pero kung si ozone gani niabot na sa ato ang troposphere or the place where human live, then dili na siya maayo class, because once you inhale an ozone gas, makadaot na siya sa imuhang health, or it would be very detrimental to your body. So stratospheric ozone is good while tropospheric ozone is bad. Kasi nga supposedly man good, dapat makita na jud nato ning ozone sa stratosphere, because it filters out the UV rays coming from the sun. Tapos it is also the area where ozone is desirably located. Tapos kung si ozone makita na nato sa troposphere, dili na siya pwede class. Kaya dapat ang air lang jud, or ang gas lang dapat na mag-exist sa atong atmosphere, sa troposphere na layer should be oxygen and traces of nitrogen and carbon dioxide. Now, this harmful ozone, when inhaled, can irritate the lungs and break down lung tissues. Plants are also affected by this tropospheric ozone. Kasi nga, dili desirable nga si ozone mag-exist sa troposphere, kaya dili siya pwede ma-inhale sa mga tao or any other types of living things. Dapat si ozone mag-exist lang dito siya dito sa ozone layer, which is located in the stratosphere. Okay, let us consider this figure or this image now. So this one is the stratosphere. It is the area where ozone layer should be located. So dito natin makikita yung good ozone. Good ozone in the stratosphere. So 90% of ozone is in the atmosphere. Now, in the lower atmosphere or in the troposphere, we have, or there are also percentage of ozone nga itong makitaan. 10% of ozone is in troposphere. Ground level ozone is a GHG and a major component of smog or a combination of smoke and fog, which is actually a bad ozone. So when the ozone combines with the aerosol emissions and combines with the fossil fuel emissions, then it will form a smog. Tapos once you inhaled a smog, mo na siya ang makadaot sa ato ang lungs, or dili na siya desirable kay once manggod mo mix na ni si ozone with any other components just like aerosol emission or just like fossil fuel emission, kung ano na siya class na anay chemical reaction nga may tabo dira, which is not really good. So that is why desirably si ozone dapat naalang jud siya sa stratosphere, because once naaning ozone sa ato ang troposphere, then it will mix with other ingredients or other kanang harmful gases na naapod sa atong atmosphere or sa atong troposphere. And once we consume or once we breathe in that air, it would be very detrimental to our health. Now, let us take a look on the atmosphere's role. Atmosphere's role in the hydrologic cycle or water cycle. So, unsa the role ni atmosphere para mahitabo ang water cycle? The atmosphere is a crucial part of the water cycle. It serves as the reservoir of large amount of waters. Therefore, the atmosphere is an efficient medium to move water around the globe. Okay? So, kasi nga, the processes that are involved in the water cycle or the hydrologic cycle are the evaporation, the condensation, and the precipitation. So, once the water bodies evaporates, its water vapors gas goes on to the atmosphere. So, it mixes with the clouds, tapos mag-join na po siya sa other water vapors, which will fall again to the Earth's surface through rain, kanang snow, hail, or sleet. And with the presence of the atmosphere, ang water sa tuang planet must circulate around the globe kasi nga clouds, they are driven by the force of the wind, by the force of the air. So, mo na siyang reason nga na atay ginatawag nga kanang hanging habagat, tapos hanging amihan, ingana, di ba? They came from different continents. Merong Siberian air, merong hangin nagikan sa Pacific air, sa Pacific Ocean. And this involves water vapors that came from those specific places. And because of atmosphere, the water vapor are being transported from one place to another. And this is desirable para po ang mga desierto nato na mga places, just like most of the countries in the Middle East, makatilaw po sila og ulan. Kaya kung ang atmosphere, kung wala yung atmosphere class, aside from that exposure to UV rays, then dili po ma-circulate ang water movement or dili mag-move ang water. So bali kung diri ni siya nga water nag-evaporate, dili ra po ni siya mo condense, dili ra po siya mo ulan. So how about those places na very dry, very humid? Ingana, so therefore God has also, or I mean, yes, God has also played a very important kanang good mechanism para maitabo dyan ng water cycle. Okay, let's go on with the key points of this topic. So the 5 layers of the atmosphere are, sa ganitong mnemonics, the smart man takes the elevator. The smart man takes the elevator. Troposphere, stratosphere, mesosphere, thermosphere, and the exosphere. Troposphere, mo ni siya katong usually ang weather patterns nagahitabo or the weather and climate. Tapos it is also where human lives. Stratosphere, nandito yung ozone layer. Mesosphere, di na mahitabo tong burning of space debris or yung meteor shower. The thermosphere, katong naadiri ang international, katong o sa giti tawag ato class katong good International Space Station. Yes, International Space Station. Tapos naapo dire na itabo ang Southern and Northern Borealis. Then the exosphere, mo ni siyang katong boundary between the Earth and the space. So nitrogen and oxygen make up bulk of the gases in the atmosphere. The atmosphere is crucial in enabling and maintaining life on Earth. Okay, so this one ends our discussion for the Unit 2. And please study all the topics under the Unit 2 because we will going to have an oral recitation. The next time around, we do our video, we do our video conference, okay? Bye, students!